I'm going to be starting with the NYX Butt Naked eyeshadow. Hello! So today we are going to be doing a makeup look that you can wear to work. And actually I'm going to be doing half drugstore and half high-end. These are all products that I reach for actually on a daily basis when I'm getting ready for work, and it's going to be a very neutral and clean look. It's almost like a no makeup look, but a little bit enhanced, I guess. It's very work appropriate and professional, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Like I said, this is the makeup look that I pretty much do every day for work. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so when I'm getting ready for work, I rarely ever wear face makeup to work, only a little bit of concealer under my eyes. That's because I have really oily skin and my skin just doesn't like it when makeup sits on it for that long. And also, I don't really have that many people to impress at work, so to be completely honest. So I just tend to stay away from it. So like I said, we're going to start with concealer. I'm going to try to keep the high-end products to this side of my face and the drugstore products to this side of my face. However, my concealers, I have two favorite ones. My high-end concealer I use over my lids, and then my drugstore concealer I use under my eyes. So the high-end concealer that I use is the MAC Studio Fix, and this is in NC20. It's a little too light for me, but it's a perfect eyeshadow base, so I love to use it for that. And I just apply this with my finger. So because these are my two favorite concealers, I'm just going to apply these to both eyes, and I drag that into the inner corner a little bit. I have pretty veiny eyelids, so I wear an eyeshadow base every day, otherwise I feel like eyeshadows don't look the way they're supposed to. And then my favorite drugstore concealer is the Instant Age Rewind Eraser of Dark Circles, and I use it in Fair. And so it's a little light on me now that I'm tan, but it's good still since we're highlighting underneath the eyes anyways. I really bad dark circles in the morning. I mean, it's not morning right now, but when I'm getting ready for work it is. So this puppy does a great job covering those up. And I'll usually just put this right under my brow just to accentuate it. And I do a upside down triangle underneath my eyes and drag it down next to my nose because I get a lot of redness around there. And then I just blend that in with my fingers, because when I'm in a hurry in the morning, this is just the easiest way to do it. And of course, I have clean hands. Don't forget to wash them. Okay, and then to set the concealer for the high end, I'm going to be using the Hello Flawless powder by Benefit, and this is the color Ivory. And to set it, I'm using my favorite under eye setting brush. It's the small tapered brush by e.l.f. Tap off the excess. This powder is actually a foundation, however, it is too light for me right now, so it's the perfect under eye setting powder. And I'll put that over the concealer that I put under my brow. And then for the drugstore side, I'm going to be setting my concealer with the Rimmel Stay Matte powder in Translucent. This is also definitely one of my favorite under eye setting powders. I rarely, if ever, actually finish makeup products, and this one is almost hitting pan, so I'm really excited about that. And pretty proud for that matter. And we'll just set it everywhere where we put concealer. Got a little extra on my nose. That's okay. Okay. I like to set my under eyes pretty quickly because I don't want them to crease. But then I'll move on to my eyes. So for the high-end side, I'm going to be using the Naked 2 Basics. I usually only use this palette if I'm using this palette. It has everything I need, which is why I love it. And it's perfect for every day. I'm sure you have all seen it already, so I don't know why I'm showing you, but I am. So anyways, I'm going to take a blending brush and dip it in this third color right here, right there, and that is called Frisk. And I'm going to be using that as my transition shade. Put that right on the lid. Well, not on the lid. Try to keep it in the crease. Okay, and then I like to keep my morning eyeshadow look pretty quick. So this is why I love this palette, because everything's here and I have the steps down, so it takes me like 2 minutes to do my eyes. And then I'm going to be taking the color Skimp, which is that first lightest shade on this side, and it's a little bit shimmery. I'm just going to dip a flat shader brush in it and put it all over the lid and in the inner corner. Take it right up to the crease. And then going back in with that blending brush, I'm going to be taking the color Cover, which is this shade right here. It's a slightly warmer brown, not much darker than Frisk, but we're just going to be focusing that in the crease and on the outer corner of the eye. Creating a little shape in there. And then I'm going to go in with a clean blending brush, back in with Frisk, and just blend that out right there. A little bit higher. It's not as harsh of a line. And they blend together. Okay, so that's really about it for the high-end for the high-end eyeshadow look. Okay, so moving on to the drugstore side of the eyes, I'm going to be using all NYX eyeshadows. I'm going to be starting with the NYX Butt Naked eyeshadow palette. This eyeshadow palette is actually my favorite drugstore eyeshadow palette by far. I purchased it at Nordstrom Rack, but they actually have it at Ulta online, so you can purchase it there. And I'm going to be starting, this mirror is really big, so it's going to be hard not to get it in the shot, but I'm going to be starting with the first row. I'm going to be using this medium brown color here to go into the crease with. So using a blending brush, go in crease. And we're using the same exact technique that we used on the other eye, just drugstore eyeshadows. And then I'm going to be using the NYX Love and Rio Trio, that rhymes, but this middle color right here, and with a flat shader brush, putting that all over the lid. And in the inner corner. And then going back in with the blending brush, if I can find it, we're going to be going in with this warmer medium brown shade over here. And putting that in the crease in the outer corner of the eye. actually going to mix that with this darker brown down here, just to deepen it a little bit. The color isn't coming out like I want it to. There we go, much better. And then once again, going in with a cleanish blending brush with that medium brown shade over here. And blending that up a little bit into the brow. And go back in the crease and deepen it just a little bit. So now moving on to eyeliner. For the high-end side, I'm going to be using the Smashbox Always Sharp Waterproof Kohl Liner in Sumatra. And I actually love these eyeliners because they really are always sharp. I think there's a sharpener in the cap, but anyways, it's great. I'm just going to be lining as close to my lash line as possible. I usually use brown eyeliners when I'm getting ready for work just because black can be a little too dark, especially with my blue eyes, so brown looks a little bit more natural. Anyways, this is what I'll be using today. So like I said, just close to the lash line, and I'm extending it just a little bit on the end, and taking it in to the inner corner. And then I'm just taking it on the outer quarter of my lower lash line. So then for the Drugstore side eyeliner, I'm going to be using the Ulta Automatic Eyeliner in Black Brown. This is by far my favorite Drugstore eyeliner. It's the perfect color. It's not too black, it's not too brown. It's perfect. So we're doing the same technique on the side. This one isn't as sharp, so it'll be a little bit more smudged looking, but that's all right. For mascara, I like to usually pair mascaras. So for the high-end side, I'm going to be using Lights Camera Lashes for length, and then the Estee Lauder Sumptuous Bold Volume Lifting Mascara for volume on top of that. Probably gonna cut this out because it's really long. And boring. Everyone knows how to put on mascara, right? I don't know. For the Drugstore mascara side, I'm going to be using the Lash Discovery Mini Brush Waterproof Mascara in black. For lengthening, this one is really good at picking up every single little lash. I like it a lot. And then my new favorite mascara actually is the CoverGirl. So normally on a day-to-day basis, this would be my whole makeup look. Like I said, I don't like to put a lot of stuff on my face because towards the end of the day I just start to feel really gross, and whereas with this makeup look I just feel fresh all day. But if you wanted to wear bronzer, which I'm not actually going to put bronzer on today because I'm pretty tan as far as tan goes on my skin, but I will do blush. But as I was saying, if you would like to do bronzer, you could just use whichever bronzer you like to use. But for the high-end blush, I'm going to be using the Tarte Amazonian Clay in Prim. It looks like this. And then for the Drugstore blush, I'm going to be using the Milani, I forget what these are called, they're like baked rose blushes, something like that, but this is 01 Romantic Rose. And just to show you side by side, they're pretty similar. They're very neutral, pinky, mauvey, my type of blushes. So anyways, I'm gonna go in with a e.l.f. flat blush brush, and I'm actually gonna use the same brush, just two different sides for them because I'm too lazy to find another one to be honest. So doing the high-end one first, just gonna tap out a little excess and just put it on the apples of my cheeks. And this will really just help with the whole awake look, if you will. I don't know what this was, but it happened. Let's deal with it. And then the Drugstore one. This one isn't as pigmented as the Tarte Amazonian Clay. The Tarte Amazonian Clay blush, it is my favorite blush, hands down, of all time. It lasts pretty long as far as blushes goes, because blushes rub off pretty quickly, especially on my oily skin. So that one lasts pretty long. It's pigmented, and it's just like the perfect color, I guess, if you will. I just love it a lot. I love it. But I really do like this Melania one as well. So anyways, without further ado, I'll put it on my face. So like I said, this one isn't as pigmented, so I had to go in a couple more times. But that about does it for my work makeup look. I love all the products the same, regardless of how much money I spent on them. And I reach for all of those products the same amount when I'm getting ready for work. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this look and this video, and I hope you continue to keep watching our videos. Please subscribe and support us. We're still kind of new at this, so I hope we're doing a decent job. If not, please comment and let us know what we should be doing differently. We appreciate your feedback. Thanks for watching. Bye. And thanks